Hello everybody, Всем привет. Today I'm going to talk about flagging structures. So in the current state of the game, we move around, we've recently implemented events and the ability to visit a structure like a sawmill, picking up resources, visiting a mine, but you'll notice that when I do visit these structures, there's no flag appearing. And also, you know, the more eagle-eyed among you may have noticed that there's no flags outside of the castle. So in the actual game, what is supposed to happen is you are supposed to have the flags appear. Flags are supposed to be located outside of your castle, and then when you flag a structure, that is supposed to appear on top. And so you see we have these two flags here. That's correct behavior. And so the flag appears up here as well. So that is what we're working on right now. And let's close this. So the flags that are used for that are in flags 32. So the ICN file in the heroesofmight flags 32.icn. There's one that this sort of pair is on either side of the castle, and then I had to sort of guess which ones were which for the following structures, and pulling up the flags 32 spec. Let's see, what was it? The first 7 are for castles. We're pretty sure of that. But they all have the same offset Y. They have the same offset X. I was pretty sure those were the castle ones. Then basically every 4 or so, there are different offset X and possibly different offset Y's. So basically these are 4 different types of structures. So you'll have the well, let's just look at resource 32 here. You can have basically this type of, so the top of the sawmill, the top of a mine, which there's the dirt mine, the grass mine, the snow mine, I think are the big 3. And then you can have the top of the alchemist. So that was sawmill, mine, alchemist. And then you also have the top of the dragon city and the top of the lighthouse. So so I figured one of these is sawmill, one of these is alchemist, one of these is mine, one of these is dragon city, and one of these is lighthouse. So that's the guesswork that I did. And I started out with a pretty long prompt. Like sometimes I have to write out these rather long prompts beforehand. And so when I paste them in, it turns out to be a large amount of text. This was 4 kilobytes of prompt text, but rebuilding the game engine, I want to update the map rendering to display flags correctly on structures that are owned or flagged by a hero. The flag sprites are in this flags 32 ICN file, and the spec, I include the spec as context when I upload it. So not always, but sometimes these offset X, offset Y, width and height are useful for the AI. And the flags appear on towns and castles when the player takes control of a neutral town or castle, or captures a town or castle from an enemy. They appear on flaggable capturable structures, which is sawmill, alchemist, mines, dragon city, lighthouse. When that structure is flagged by a player, the color will change if another player captures the mine from them, or it will disappear if a player is eliminated from the game. And all flags are removed from all of the eliminated players' mines, lighthouses, dragon cities, etc. So the castles, I then highlight that 0 and 1 are blue flags for the castle, 2 to 3 are green, 4 to 5 red, 6 to 7 are yellow. So I take a stab at guessing which are which here. And so I want to add something to the map files, the render map. We want to load the flag 32 into resources.cpp. And then event actions is, so we recently added events to the game in a previous video. I went over that. This is where we would trigger the adding of the flags. So we're going to, like in sawmill capture, when the hero visits, you know, we're going to set the owner. The owner is set here in the sawmill capture logic. Same thing with the alchemist. Same thing with the mine. But we need to turn this, you know, this mine owner is hero player. We need to set that to display in the actual game. So that's where we would check, is the mine owned by which player? What is that player's color? Render the correct color flag for the structure over the correct adjacent tile with the correct XY offsets. So this is me specifying very specifically what I want the function to do. So, yep, flags 32 has already been entered. Player color has to redo a little bit of the sprite indexing, but it goes through this, make sure it loads. I think they were already, because we used the hero walking flag overlay. So the hero walking flag uses this as an overlay as well. So it's already been loaded and used. So there's not going to be much change there. But we are adding draw structure flags to the rendering of the map and the castle flags. Now this is interesting. It just assumes it is at row -1. So in the in this, so this is like the entrance of the sawmill, and so it assumes that it's on the tile above. Same thing here, but with the alchemist lab, I actually think it's going to be row -2. Because this is the entrance, then there's this tile, and there's this other one. And I think with Dragon City, for example, you have this base layer here that's 3 wide, then you have a second layer, then you have a third layer, then you have a fourth layer. So I think the Dragon City might be row -3. I think the lighthouse, this is row 2, so I think lighthouse is also row -2. So I think these are a little off, but we'll find out. And so yeah, it changed a slight logic thing with the is first visit guard on the mine sawmill, so that if another player moves to that, you know, captures the mine, touches that the entrance tile, the ownership should transfer, and then the flag should render separately. So it made some changes to resources, event actions, render map. And then it had some extra things at the end of the patch file, and I just asked about that because it didn't quite. It was just like notes, just things to double check, and then it didn't quite compile right, and I had to make a few changes. But let's just see what that looked like. So we will close our existing build. And this was the first pass at the flagging of the structures. So, okay, that looks all right. That is flagged. Also flagged. Hey, that's good. Okay. Oh, we still have that bug. Still have that bug with the flash screen popping over the castle screen. Oh, there we are. Yep, that is the -1 on the alchemist. So it's putting this too low. It needs to be -2 for that offset. Also notice the castle has the correct flags displayed there. Let's have a quick look at the other castles. They have the correct flags located outside of them too. Clicking new day doesn't do anything yet. So, but yeah, we got we got the basics working of the flagging of the structures. And so I tell it, okay, I made a minor fix for the offsets. Please check the code, especially the way I declared it. Int FC, and I just asked, because I made the adjustments here, I had to declare this base slightly differently for each one, so it would change. And because it wasn't a universal -1 offset, it would change based on certain structures. So the alchemist, like the sawmill and the mines, would be the same, but the alchemist and the dragon city and the lighthouse would each be slightly different. So it explains why to not declare constant, because it actually is a variable that's going to change. So it needs to be mutable. And so we are going to change the row, so we just declare that. And since these are both declared together, like it's like technically we could make, since we don't change the column, we could make the column a constant, and we could make only the row mutable. But since they're declared in the same, on the same line, it's like it kind of doesn't matter that much. If one of them was like your bank account information, you might want it to be a little more secure than that. But for this purpose, it's like about making the code kind of readable and easy to deal with. And on one line, that's just kind of the right move. So we made these changes, and let's have a look at what, confirm that worked. Let's see. There we go. There we go. Now, there's one thing that I think I want to point out here, and I'm going to start up another game just so we can see them right next to each other. I want to compare the behaviors. So this looks pretty good, and I have basically I'm basically ready to move on onto the next step of what I'm going to build. And okay, yeah, I wanted to double check that the mine flag direction is actually correct here, and it looks like it is. It also looks like the alchemist height of this is going to about the middle of that tree, and it's going to about the middle of that tree. So I think the height is correct on this flag as well. So I was worried that this flag might be pointing the other direction, and it doesn't look like it is. So I think we're good there. And we'll close that down. So then I just want some edits for the, you know, what my changes were. So we made some notes as to how this was rendered, where in between rendering step 1 and rendering step 2, we render the structure ownership flags. So step 1, I think, is the lower level structures, and I don't remember what step 2 is of rendering, but basically after we render the mines and dragon cities and alchemists, then we render the flags. So made a note of the structures in the game data and which flags are, you know, suitable for which structure. And yeah, I still need to add in this eliminated when a player either their heroes abandon them and they essentially are vanquished because they didn't have a castle for 7 days, or if they get eliminated by another player who kills all their heroes and captures all their castles and towns. That I need to come up with logic to process that. So that's just a note of future to do. And then, oh yeah, I also have a look here at, if you'll notice on this, let's pull that up again. Let's see if this is the fixed version or not. Yeah, so here the small, so this is the hero crest, and that's not actually displaying here. So it's not loading it correctly, and so I decided to try and fix that as well in this bug, this bug finding session, and I was looking at the small crest ICN, and I think it was being indexed correct or incorrectly. So I suggest fixing the enumeration of the colors, because I think that is what's causing it to not match and not look up correctly. And then yep, and then the H crest raw value is as a flat index. And then I think this worked. Let's see if I can pull up my other build that has that working. Now, okay, I don't have a build saved of that, but I can show you. And then in the mini, let's see, in the mini map up here as well, I don't, in this mini map, I also wanted to change this color to the player's color when the structure is flagged. So that was, I offered up the render UI CPP that includes the small crest fix for the hero mini display. And so I go through, let's see, it basically adds the mine colors. So these are the 4 colors for the hero players. And then it's going to just update and render the color of the mine owner. So the mini map then gets updated such that this little gray speck here turns blue when the structure is flagged. And actually you can see it working here. This was actually from the real game. And that was a screenshot as an example to the computer. And then also I noticed that the castle screen, let me pull that up again. So I believe the castle screen here, even though my hero is red, when my hero leaves the castle, this is now a blue crest. That should be red. This is like the default empty castle thing, like crest placeholder. And so that was, you know, he's a red hero with a red crest. Why is that? So I thought, okay, there's probably something similar going on with this. So I worked on fixing that. And that seemed to work. Had a few I don't remember what this error was. So, oh, I had left an extra line. It was doing some extra work that it didn't need to do, I think, for this one. And I can actually show that these are fixed. I have a build that came after this. I can quickly demonstrate that, but I started working on animation next. And so there may be some animation. Yeah, you can see my animation is now, the windmill animation is a little off, but you will see here that the this crest is, the small crest is now displaying correctly. This is now displaying the correct color, which is red. So I did get those fixed. And then if we go up here to flag the structure, now it changes to red. Let's just flag one more, and you can see that they're both red. See, that also switched to red. So those were fixed, and then in that build I started working on animation. So that was how we added in the flagging of mine structures, and also we fixed a few hero crest bugs as well. But the main goal of this session was to add flags to the mine structures, display them correctly on the minimap, and display the flags and get them to render correctly on the map. You know, technically in the game logic before this, they were being, the owners were being updated, but it was not being reflected on the map and not in the minimap as well. So we've now added that, and on to the next thing, which is starting to fix some of the animation at these lower levels, which you'll see, you can even see it in my resource 32 here. Like we have the mine, sorry, not the mine, the alchemist. There's an animation here of the fire burning and the mercury dripping into the cauldron. And so we're going to be using this tile and overlaying 6 frames of animation over that. So that's for the next video.